Hey, Asma. What's good? I'm doing great. How's it been going with you? Food? Always. I'm locked in. What's the move? You bringing the hot takes or we dive? All right, you've got the floor. Where do we? Oh, definitely. I mean, you can't exactly function without it. It's as basic as it gets. Why the sudden deep dive into the essentials? You're keeping me on my toes today. It's the ultimate icebreaker. I mean, think about every big life event, weddings, holidays, the kind of chaos that happens around a dinner table. It's less about the nutrition and more about the fact that you're all just sitting there sharing the same experience. Plus, nothing bonds people faster than arguing over the best way to cook a specific dish. Do you have a goal to a meal that always brings people together? It's basically a edible history book. It's not just about the taste, it's how people pass down stories and traditions. Like you can taste the influence of trade routes or migrations in a single bite. It's a way of saying, this is where I come from without even having to speak. I wonder if you have a family recipe that feels like home to you. You're on a roll with these questions. It's mostly through the watch and learn method. You know, that thing where you're just hanging out in the kitchen and you just absorb how your grandma does things by osmosis. It's rarely about written recipes, more about a pinch of this and until it looks right. It's a living thing that changes slightly every time it's handed off. I bet there's some secret ingredient in your family's cooking that no one's actually written down. Wait, did you mean different preferences? Because if you're talking about gifts, we might have drifted a bit far from the food topic. But assuming it basically comes down to what was actually available on the land. If you're by the coast, you're eating seafood. If you're in the mountains, it's probably more roots and game. Throw in like the climate and the local geography, and you get these totally different flavor profiles. Plus, once people start trading, they just swap ingredients and make it their own. It's like a giant global remix. I've heard that some of the most iconic dishes in certain cultures actually started as poor man's food using whatever was left over. Does that track with anything you've seen in your own culture? It's like a timeline you can eat. Think about how the discovery of new trade routes or wars completely shifted what people had in their pantries. Like, if you take something as simple as the chili pepper, it's not only native to the Americas, but it totally changed the food in Asia and Africa once it hit those shores. Every dish is basically a map of who conquered who or who traded with who, or it's the messy human side of history that you don't get in a textbook. I wonder if you've noticed any weird overlaps in foods from different parts of the world. There are so many. Think about something like the baguette in France or sushi in Japan. They're more than just a meal, they're basically the national identity on a plate. Even something as simple as maize in Mexico is tied to their entire creation story. It's wild how a specific ingredient can end up representing entire people. Do you think there's a food that instantly makes you think of a specific place or culture? It's the center of gravity for the whole thing. I mean, festivals aren't really festivals without a specific dish that only shows up once a year. It creates this kind of anticipation where the food becomes a signal that the celebration has actually started. Plus, it's how people mark the passage of time. You've got your moon cakes for the Mid Autumn Festival or turkey for Thanksgiving. It's like a sensory alarm clock for the holidays. I've heard that some festivals are actually built entirely around the harvest of a single crop. It's kind of wild how much we let a vegetable or a grain dictate our calendar. You've prac- you've practically given me a full culinary masterclass today. Because sharing a meal is basically the universal sign for I trust you or we're cool. It's one of the few times people actually put their phones down and just exist in the same space. There's something about breaking bread that makes it a lot harder to be a stranger. Do you prefer the big, loud family style dinners or the more low key one on one meals? Let's turn the world into one giant food court. Now you can walk down a random street in a city and find authentic ramen, tacos, and gelato all within a few blocks. It's cool because we get to experience these flavors without having to travel, but the downside is that some of the local traditional spots get pushed out by these big global chains. It's a trade off between variety and authenticity. I've heard that in some places, traditional dishes are being reinvented just to appeal to a more global palate, which is kind of a bummer. Do you think we're losing something when we make traditional food accessible to everyone? It's like a secret handshake for your taste buds. When you eat food that reminds you of your childhood or your hometown, it's an instant connection. It's not just the calories, it's the feeling that you're in a place where you're understood. For a lot of people, cooking a specific dish is the only way they can feel connected to their roots when they're far from home. I've heard there are people who move halfway across the world and spend months hunting for one specific brand of spice just to feel that sense of belonging again. Do you have a specific flavor or smell that instantly makes you feel like you're exactly where you belong? It's huge. Food is like the ultimate emotional anchor. For some, it's pure comfort, that one meal that makes a bad day feel manageable. For others, it's nostalgia, where a single bite can basically teleport you back to being 7 years old in your grandmother's kitchen. It's the way we celebrate the wins and the way we lean on each other during the losses. I've heard that some people even use food as a love language when they can't find the words to say how they feel. Do you think you're more of a comfort food person or someone who uses food to explore new moods? There's basically the last line of defense for some cultures. When languages fade or traditions get updated, the recipes usually stick around because they're a physical practice. You can't really simplify a slow cooked stew without losing the essence of it. It's a way of keeping the history alive in a way that's tactile and sensory. I've heard that for some displaced communities, their food is the only piece of their homeland they actually got to keep. Do you think it's possible to preserve a culture's heritage if its food disappears? It's the seasoning that makes the dish actually interesting. I mean, food is the prompt for the story. You're not just eating a stew, you're hearing about the time your great uncle almost burned the kitchen down trying to make it. The story gives the food a soul, and the food gives the story a reason to be told. I've heard that in some cultures, the act of preparing the meal is basically a long form oral history session. Do you think the stories behind the food are as important as the taste itself? It's basically turned us into a society of instant gratification. I mean, we've gone from waiting weeks for a shipment of spices to getting a burger delivered to our door in 20 minutes with a few taps. On the production side, you've got everything from vertical farming to lab grown meat, which is some real sci-fi stuff. It's efficient, sure, but it kind of strips away the ritual of it all. I've heard that some people are actually pushing back now, going for slow food movements just to feel that connection again. Do you think the convenience is worth the loss of the experience?